With the introduction of social media into our world, entrepreneurs across the globe now have a virtual water cooler. But is social media just a big time drain, or can you really optimize Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter to be a valuable lead generation resource in your business? Hi, it's Melanie Benson here. I'm America's leading small business optimizer, and this weekly series is all about the secrets to optimizing your small business so that it works not just a little bit better, it works exponentially better. You're effective, you're productive, and you are able to start experiencing more time for the things you love most. And I've invited today's guest here because I found that she has really not only had this extraordinary story of how she optimized her business very quickly, but she has a technique that many people are missing out on that make their social media sing along and perform at an optimum level. So let me introduce Donna Cravotta. Donna is CEO and creator of the Total Social PR System. You can find her at socialsagepr.com. And at Social Sage PR, Donna is fiercely committed to guiding entrepreneurs in gaining visibility and fostering engagement online through the creative use of social media, the creative use of social media and public relations. So Donna, thank you so much for jumping on today and being part of it. You had a big night last night on the personal side. So
Yes,
you're
I
coming
did.
to us all nice and fresh, right?
Yeah, those 3 hours of sleep was really, it was everything I needed.
Yeah, it's all anybody needs. Who needs more than 3 hours sleep besides me? So Donna, I caught wind of your story, and the minute that I did, I knew I absolutely had to have you come on the show because, in my 14 years of working with business owners all over the world, there are people who find their sweet spot and they run with it and they get successful. And then there's people who struggle for years and years and years to figure out how to take something they're passionate about, how to take their message and really transform it to a profitable business. And you seem to have pulled that off in what I would consider a record time. I want to start with, what was the catalyst for you to create Social Sage PR?
I was in corporate for over 20 years, and my son was hitting kindergarten age around the same time as my job was becoming awful. And it was a very secure job, and it was, I'd been there for a long time. But I wanted to be around for his childhood, and I'd go to work every day, and it was like, I'm leaving him for this? I don't want this amount of regret in my life. And I did some research. I went online and I found all of these different small businesses. And I was like, oh my gosh, they need me. They need me so much more than where I am, because I had to go into like the executive group and justify everything I wanted to do in my job. And when I was looking at the small businesses that were popping up all over the place, this was around 2006. And they needed me. I was like, oh, I could do this, and 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 I could make their lives so much easier. And I just started with a virtual assistance business because I figured this is what people needed. And I walked out of my job, and everybody thought I was absolutely out of my mind. I'm a single parent, and no other support. And it took a little while to get it going. And once it did, I was so happy. Everybody was so happy. The littlest thing that I did for them, they were incredibly happy. And they were like, can you do this too? And I was like, sure. And then social media came out, and that was it. It was like they made it just for me. Somebody climbed into my head and said, we're going to make something that works with your brain. And I never looked back. I mean, I was done with being a virtual assistant. I was a social media manager for many years. And then I had a client that needed me to do PR for her. And I was reluctant and a little scared. And I said, I've never done this before. And I signed up for some PR training. She offered to pay for it. I went through 5 sessions, and the woman said to me, I can't train you anymore. And I was horrified. I was like, what did I do? I'm so sorry. And she said, you're my colleague. I can't train you. You're better at this than I am. And I started to look back at what I did in my job, and I realized I'd been doing PR for 10 years, and I just didn't know it was PR. It was a job. So you do what you need to do. And I quickly got her very successful, using a combination of social media and PR. And then I started applying it to my other clients, and I wasn't charging them for this. I was their virtual assistant, but all of a sudden they're getting newspaper articles, and they're getting on TV, and they're getting all these amazing things. And I still was not getting paid for this, but I was, escalating all of this great stuff for them. And, I went along for a couple of years this way, and then I had this revelation that I needed to stop everything, get rid of all of my clients, rebrand, and start over. And that was about a year and a half ago. And my business has exploded, like instantly. A month after I rebranded, I had a $20,000 month.
Wow. So it's almost like that moment of reinvention to let go of the things that you thought you were supposed to do
Yeah.
and really stepping into your genius. I like to call it your genius zone because it's a sweet spot of what people are looking for and what it is that you're uniquely qualified to do and what gets you inspired. And
Yeah.
you owned it and it turned everything on full blast financially.
Well, not just financially, but creatively as well, because I was still doing, like for a while, I was muddling back and forth, and working as a VA, I was doing website work and newsletters and all of these things that I really didn't want to be doing. I'd already worked in the corporate world. I've done tons of admin work. I was a project manager. I've spent my time in spreadsheets, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I loved the social media. I loved the PR. And I loved when, like, when they would combine, it was like that chocolate peanut butter moment. And it just got me so excited. And then I'm looking around and I'm realizing nobody else is really doing this. And you don't need a big following when you really target it and you just have, I had my first client that I did this with, she had 350 Facebook fans and about 3,000 people on Twitter, and we sold $100,000 worth of hand cream in 8 months.
Wow. Okay,
Because
that's
we had
phenomenal. You said 350 fans, right?
350 fans on Facebook and about maybe 3,500 Twitter followers. And she had a mailing list of about 3,000 people, but they were primarily customers. She was a hand model, and she had a line of anti-aging hand care products. And she'd been working with a PR firm in the city, in New York City, that was charging her like big bucks. And they got her into every magazine. She won beauty awards, fashion awards, all these different things. But she didn't sell anything. She sold nothing. We would sit in her basement with like piles of hand cream around us going, now what? And one of my tricks was a hashtag. I started following the hashtag dry hands. And at 11 o'clock at night, I'd go into my little Hootsuite and I would look and see who's talking about their dry hands at 11 o'clock at night. And I'd shoot them off a 20% coupon. And every night we'd go to sleep with the little dings of the shopping cart.
Oh, I'm getting chills. This is such a cool story because I think, well, I can tell you, having mentored so many entrepreneurs that are trying to use social media to get their message out, to get their products to sell better, this is the biggest question. Okay, Melanie, I have 300 fans. Now what? Okay, Melanie, I have like 500 people on Twitter. What do I do? Like nothing's working. I'm putting all this energy into it. I'm doing all these posts and nothing's happening. So what I'm hearing is what you do that's magical for you is you figure out how to take someone's product, their message, their brand, their whatever
It
their
doesn't
thing
matter.
is,
It doesn't
and
matter.
you know how to get traction with it on social media to turn it into a result they're looking for. Am I getting that right?
Yes, it's all based on being extremely targeted, finding the people that care about what you're saying or need your services. And if you have 300 people that need your services and you're the answer to their problems and you can speak to them every single day, that's an audience of 300 people. That's so much more powerful than having 10,000 people that don't really care. And those 300 people, in most cases, they're connected with hundreds more people that are very similar to who they are.
Yeah.
So they also need your message. They need your product. They need your brilliance. So when you target it in such a way that you become the solution, you don't need a big following. You really don't.
So you talk about the technique of hashtags. I think hashtags are one of the most commonly misunderstood but super valuable techniques on social media. Now, recently, hashtags became more popular in Google Plus as well as Facebook. You said use them on Twitter, but are you
Hmm.
using them in different
Oh yeah,
modalities as well? And you're
yeah. I mean,
finding
well,
that's
yes.
working?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Okay.
just say Twitter because for years it's only been Twitter, and
Right.
it was one of my pet peeves when people used them in applications where they didn't mean anything.
Right. Right. Now they do.
Yeah, now they do. I had to go back and change a bunch of content in my program because, a lot of it was ranting about not using hashtags in Facebook.
Yes, gotta love it when
But
the social media gods change all the rules, and now you've gotta you gotta fix all your content. It's like, oh, my training, I have to get updated now.
yeah, that evergreen product is never evergreen. Um,
Exactly.
but what's so important is before you start using a hashtag, go and do some research on it. There are websites, Twubs is one of them, and hashtag.org are websites that you can go to. You could actually register your own hashtag, but you could also do some research, see if somebody has one registered, see
Okay.
what kind of conversations are going on around it. Um, and you don't want to get into the wrong conversation because what I think about the hashtag dry hands could be very different about what somebody else is thinking. And you
Right.
don't want to get into that conversation because everything that's online is forever. And my cardinal rule with social media is, can my child see it? Can my mother see it? Can my client see it? And if it's not a resounding yes on all three, I don't post it. I think
Okay.
of something else.
Good. I like that.
And, it's just really knowing what the conversation is and making sure that it's relevant. If you want to create your own hashtag for your own event, make sure that you have enough people to make it worthwhile. If you have 3 people promoting your event
Right.
and there's 3 people using that hashtag, it doesn't mean anything. The
Right.
whole idea is to gather a crowd around a topic, a conversation. So unless you have the kind of crowd to drive that conversation, get into the conversations that are already existing. But with hashtags, I like to boil it down to the simplest common denominator. It's a conversation. It's someplace where people gather around this little word and then they talk about it. And that's really all it is. And you want to make sure that you're having the conversations with the right people because those conversations turn into the relationships that turn into clients. So just by being targeted and putting a little purpose and meaning into how you conduct yourself online makes all the difference in the world.
So I love the hashtag tip. Any other little strategies or techniques that you found are really important as you're getting your message out and you're wanting to really monetize your social media time and energy that you're investing?
You can't do it without a social media management tool. And the one that I use is Hootsuite. There are many out there. It's free. They have a paid version also, but even the paid version is only $10 a month. And when this is used properly, it becomes a business intelligence tool. It's not just something to help you post your social media. It helps you find your target market. It helps you find the media. The media has changed. The media doesn't want to be slammed with press releases and pitches anymore. And most media professionals are on Twitter. So if you can find them on Twitter and engage with them before you pitch them, then they know who you are. if
Great
you can,
tip. Great
if you've
tip.
been if you've been a resource to them, if you've helped them, if you've shared their information, and then you pitch them, you have a relationship. It's not just like, hey, this is what I have, I want you to talk about it. They
Right.
don't like that. They really don't like that. They're some of the busiest and most underpaid people out there, and they want to be respected.
Yeah, great tip. I love it. These are hot. I love it.
But it's all simple. It's all really, really simple. I like to simplify the entire process and make it not scary.
Yeah. Well, and the benefit of having someone like you who is doing social media for you, or do you teach them this system, is that you're not trying to figure it all out yourself. You really, oops, sorry, you can really follow a process without figuring it out on your own. Like, I know there's so many things that are changing, so many things that are evolving. And speaking of evolving, I know every entrepreneur has a journey that gets them from one place to where they are today when they, get asked to share their story. It wasn't all rosy. It hasn't always been, what we might say puppy dogs and lollipops.
No.
My story's been a lot of twists and turns. What would you say was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey as an entrepreneur?
When I left my corporate job, I was really, I was raised in the 60s and the 70s, and that's when, you grow up, you go to school, you get a job, you work there for 30 years, you retire, you die. And, that was the program. And, I went right into a job in a big international law firm, and I did very, very well. They created positions for me. I traveled all over the world. I was doing training in offices everywhere. I was doing training in Germany with translators. I mean, I reached some level of success, and I was pretty proud of myself. And I was always proud to be part of such an institution. Like, this was a law firm that was involved in getting the hostages out of Iran. And, I mean, it was nice to be part of something that was so institutional and part of history. And they were really proud of that. And everybody that worked there was proud of it. And, I had to kind of really cut that all out and let that go, because when I first started my business, I was trying to take all these new things I was learning and these new skills and talents and plug them into my 25 years of experience, and it wasn't working. It was like trying to put a bunch of like square pegs in round holes. And then when I went through my little metamorphosis of what my business needed to be and who I needed to be in my business, I realized I had it all backwards. I had to just break everything down and start my foundation with the new things that I was learning and the new things that people that I was serving needed, because they didn't need what I was doing in a very inefficient law firm. They're small businesses. Everything needs to be efficient. And then I just went back to my 25 years of experience and I picked nuggets of what I needed, and then I plugged the holes. And as soon as I did that, it was just rocket fuel. I exploded because I had this solid background, I'm talking like pensions and 401ks and health insurance. And I was, combining that with like the fiery entrepreneur, flying at the seat of your pants. And it just really worked. It really, really worked. And my clients loved it because they knew I was solid from my old experience, and they knew that I was a little gutsy from my new experience.
Yeah, you got to be gutsy to leave behind a solid paycheck. And I was laughing when you shared the part about the people were laughing or calling you crazy when you left. And I remember the day I handed in my keys to my car. I had a company car and my company credit cards and all that. They looked at me like I was insane. They're like, "Are you serious? You're leaving behind this, whatever it was, 90K plus a year cushy job, and you're gonna go start." I'm like, "Yep, I'm going. Bye." So yeah, it takes guts.
My entire family stopped talking to me, and we were all at some like family gathering thing, and I overheard them talking in the other room. Like they were arguing with each other, like, who do you think she's going to ask for money first? And I'd never once asked anybody for money. They'd all asked me for money, and I was like, oh my goodness, I guess I better make this a success.
Yeah, that's a catalyst. Well, and everybody has this moment when they're in the challenge, or maybe things are just okay, and you kind of have an aha moment, and usually you hear something or you learn something that really turns everything around for you. And I actually think for most of us, it's not even revolving around our craft or our trade. It's really who we're being. Did you have one of those pivotal moments for yourself?
I had two. The first one was I realized for me to stay in the job that I was in, I had to change who I was, and I was not willing to do that. And the second one that I was at Carvel at 9 o'clock at night having ice cream for dinner, and I had already decided I was going to try my business and I was going to juggle both for a year and see how it went. And I was about 2 weeks into this plan. And I just started laughing hysterically in Carvel, and the guy's looking at me like, ooh, how fast could we get those guys in the white coats here? And the next day I went and I quit my job. I just said, I'm done. I can't do this. I can't do this job and my business and be a single parent and own a home. It's just not going to work. So something's got to give, and this is the thing I care the least about. And
so is that about focus, or is it really honoring your truth? Like, what do you think that knowing was?
I think at the time I wasn't in touch enough with myself because I was stretched so thin to honor my truth, but I think that was the underlying drive.
Okay.
I just think that there was not enough of me to go around, and I was being really practical. Nobody thought I was being practical, but I was being practical because I realized if I had stayed in my job, there's no way my business would have ever succeeded. And for me to give it any kind of chance at all, I needed to walk away from the job.
Yeah.
And they kept me on as a consultant for about 6 months and paid me like enormous amounts of money because they wanted me to stay. And it had gotten so bad, I was taking conference calls in my car in January, wrapped in blankets with my laptop tapped into my neighbor's Wi-Fi. And I was like, this is not a way to live. Because I didn't want them in my house. Even
Yeah,
virtually, I didn't want them in my house. It felt like such an
interesting.
intrusion.
So I want to just check in and dig a little bit deeper because you went from, kind of flip-flopping around and having some success to, and I think you told me you're breaking six figures this year.
Hmm.
What was there something in terms of the practical pieces of running your business operationally that you did that besides just really owning your genius, like maybe it was a structural thing or something that you changed in the way you do business that made this work better for you?
Two things. One, I built a team because being that I came from being a virtual assistant, it was very hard for me to transition this over because I did it better than everybody else.
My
And then
favorite optimization tool, by the way, build a team.
yeah, and I did. I had to build a team, and I'm still struggling with it. It's been about a year now, and I'm still struggling with it because I did all of this. So I
Hard
know
to
how
let
it's
go.
done. Yeah, it's hard to let go when I know I can do it faster, I could do it better, I don't have to explain it to somebody else. And I need to let that go because there's other things I need to be doing. And I really, in the last couple of weeks, now that I'm, doing some new things in my business, I've really stepped into that role quite a bit more. And it feels good. It feels right. And the other thing that I did was I started using project management tools and really brain dumping, like mind mapping everything from my head into a project management tool. Because then it wasn't like I had to take it, from my head into a list into a project management tool. It went straight from my head into this tool. It was a task I could give somebody else, and that was enormous. That was enormous because there was one step. It wasn't three steps. Because somehow when it's three steps, it never makes it past the second
Right.
one.
Yeah, so it sounds like you really took the leap of faith to optimize your time better. And I think for every entrepreneur, time is our greatest asset, and it's the thing we often have the least of. And you just explained two my ultimate favorite optimization techniques when I'm working with someone who's overwhelmed trying to grow is, get help, even if you're not perfect at it. And, that's definitely that's something that you can learn. There's great resources out there like Build Your Dream Team, and,
Mhm.
like you just got to learn how to let go then getting that project management because when you keep everything in your head no one else can help you
No,
and you can't be effective. So I
exactly.
love that you just shared those. Okay, favorite mantra or quote that allows you to have the confidence and the courage to keep going.
I've lived this over and over again. Once impossible, now easy.
Ooh, now is that yours or just something you heard somewhere?
I heard it somewhere, but I'm claiming
Okay, go for
it.
it. If you can't Google it and find out who said it, then it's yours. I guess I
But
shouldn't
really,
say that.
but I mean things that I had wish lists of things that maybe I might accomplish, and I was banging them out one after the other.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling. That really does bolster your confidence and make you ready to really take big leaps.
Yeah, and there's nothing more, I think, empowering than taking the leap and knowing that it's paying off.
Yeah.
And I know so many people that give up because they're taking leaps and it's not paying off. And it's because they're not actually optimizing their approach. They're not really doing what works and doing more of it. They keep going in so many different directions that they can't possibly make
Yeah.
anything stick.
Exactly. The other thing that I see people doing along those lines is if they do have a failure, they view it as a failure. I don't view failure as failure. I view it as an opportunity to see what I did wrong,
Yeah.
to know how I might be able to turn this into something else or do it better the next time. And it's that you don't have any failures if you look at things that way. It's just another experience. And there's not one successful person that hasn't had more failures than successes.
It's so true. And I actually, my one of my favorite sayings is about failure and what the meaning we give it. And it's failure is simply a learning. It's simply feedback that allows us to make better choices in the future. And I think when we can really hold on to that and get it intrinsically and not make failure mean anything more than it has to, we have the fuel and the fire and the inspiration to keep going. Because, most of us, nobody wants to go back and get a job once they've left. Nobody wants to like, we have so much freedom if you really do your business right. So it's just about getting that. You got to get the head on straight, then take the right actions, and have a strategic design to your business that really can perform optimally.
I had two part-time jobs over the years while I was building my business, and each of them lasted 6 weeks.
Yeah, I didn't even go there. I was afraid I'd get hooked back in.
And I went on one job interview and I waited for like 45 minutes and the woman came out and she goes, "You're overqualified. I have nothing for you, but I just needed to meet the person who worked at the law firm that you worked at for 17 years.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And I was like, "Well, thanks." And now I really know I made the right decision by quitting.
I love that. So what's next for you?
I took the system that I created that I work with my clients, and I've built it into a product. And I did a beta of it over the summer, and I sold 100 people into it for the beta, and it was wildly successful. Every person that did the work had massive results. We've had people that have gotten themselves on TV shows, radio shows, newspapers, the front page of Huffington Post, amazing stuff, doubling and tripling social media. So now I'm in the end stages of putting together the revised version of that, and it's turning into a 6-month program, and we've got all kinds of bells and whistles attached. And it's going to be the bulk of what I'm working on the next couple of months to get this really rolling. But I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's really empowering people to be able to bring this, particularly the PR side, because this is something that people, and like, small businesses like we have, they never even considered that this was something that they could do on their own or that they could afford. And, it's not expensive. It's just really knowing what you have to do, how to do it, and how to contact these people. And they're having massive success. I've got somebody that's going to be on the Dr. Oz show in about 2 weeks. And
By
she did it
using your
herself.
system.
She did it herself, yeah.
Wow. So, Donna, would this be something, let's say a business owner knows they really want to get this kind of help, they really want to get like more presence on the social media side of things, but they don't personally want to learn how to do it. I know your time is a premium and you're not able to help everybody. Could they hire a VA and put them through your program to really get that benefit and learn how to put the system into action?
Absolutely. The way I have it structured is everybody who purchases my system can bring somebody with them, whether it be a VA, a
Great.
team member, a spouse. And then a lot of the work that we do is what the business owner needs to claim and what they could outsource to somebody else. So as we're going through the work, with each module, I'm kind of splitting it into 2 sections. Like, okay, business owner, this is what you have to do, and you have to claim responsibility for some of these things. And this is what you can outsource to your team, because you don't need to spend your time doing techie things and uploading images and scheduling posts about your telesummit. But they do need to claim their voice, their brilliance, their conversations, their relationships. Social media isn't any different than going to a networking event or going to meet with a client. These are things as a business owner you have to own.
Right.
And, many people are afraid of social media because of all of the changes in the technology, and it's not something that they've done before. But it really is just a conversation, and you can have this conversation in such a powerful way because you could reach people that in the past you couldn't reach them this way. I mean, I put up a Facebook post the other day, something silly that I never do, like, you're my friend on Facebook, read through to the bottom, and just put one word how you met me. And I had 87 comments, and people on there, from people that were in my first grade class to people I worked with, that I traveled with, that I met at a networking event last week. And that just blew me away, because how could you take that strategy and apply it in a business perspective where you can pull together people in all of these different areas in one place, 87 of them in like 2 hours. Like, where else in the world could that happen? So my mind was like exploding with possibilities of how you can turn this silly little post into
That's
something that
awesome.
would drive business and engagement and help people. It's not just about the business. Everything that we do as small business owners, we're helping people that have some kind of need, or they have some kind of issue in their life. And the mission for me for doing this work is to be able to empower all of these people that have skills and brilliance and things that people need. So like in the middle of the night when they don't think that there's a solution, somebody's going to pop on that repeat of the Dr. Oz show in the middle of the night, and they would have gone through my program, and they're going to help somebody. And that's what keeps me going. And that's what just drives me to stay up 15 hours a day to, churn out content about social media, because I know that there are so many people out there that need help, and that there are people that can help them. They just don't know how to put themselves out there. And I want them to find each other.
I love that. So, can they find you at socialsagepr.com, right?
Yes, yes.
And where can they, we're talking about social media, so we got to get your social media out there. How do they find you on Facebook and Twitter?
Okay, Facebook is Social Sage PR, and
Okay.
Twitter is Donna Cravotta.
Okay, great, great. And we'll put that on the video here so everybody can check in and come
Great,
find you. Well, Donna, thank
great.
you so much for today. I love this story. I love the tips you gave. Most importantly, I just love that you're out there doing something you're so passionate about, and that other people are going to get much greater results and be able to optimize all this time, money, and energy they've been investing into their social media platforms. There's nothing more exciting than knowing what you're doing is working, and you've got a great resource and a great motivation for us to get out there and do it. So thanks, Donna.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks for listening in today. Hey, if you learned something, you got a tip, a strategy, an aha moment yourself, we'd love to see it. Put it in the comments below. Tell us what's resonating for you. And hey, if you're really going to challenge yourself and put something into action, tell us what you've done that worked. We want to celebrate with you. So I look forward to seeing your comments below. All right, bye everybody.